Hello, everyone. Let's have more news about the Miami Heat. But first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Over the last week, the Miami Heat may have been able to make lemonade out of lemons after missing out on Kevin Durant and then drafting a Kasparas Jakučionis, a lottery talent that seemingly fell into their laps. However, it's their anticipated next move that will determine this team's true offseason intentions. What Miami does next truly tells us whether they're genuinely pivoting toward a youth movement or if they're still keeping the door open to expediting their process back to championship contention, whether they've truly had a change of approach, or whether they're just buying time until their next short-sighted move that has little chance of succeeding. And heading into the start of free agency, anything and everything could still be on the table for the Heat. The Heat may have made the right move in selecting a young talent with a promisingly high ceiling with the number 20 overall pick in the NBA draft, a decision that was nearly universally praised, but there's still a chance they could still turn around in the next few days. Make a trade for DeMar DeRozan or another veteran player that would contradict the signals the front office sent on draft night. At the same time, they could also work a sign and trade for Jonathan Kuminga on July 1st. They could also make a seller type move and trade Andrew Wiggins and or Duncan Robinson for future draft capital that would give them even more flexibility heading into the future. In other words, even after what the Heat did on draft night, no one really knows what lies ahead for the franchise. That can be both exciting and scary for the fan base. One commonality that everyone can agree on, though, is the fact that all eyes are on Miami heading into this upcoming week. Now let's go to another video. Don't forget to leave a like.
And the biggest one, literally and figuratively, is Vlad Goldin, the big man from Michigan. And I am very excited about this addition to the roster. And I do want to make the announcement this is a two-way contract. So this is someone Miami clearly prioritized grabbing in undrafted free agency. I had him as a draftable player. Not just draftable, I had him firmly as a second-round prospect. He was my 45th overall player on my big board, so I really like this value for the Heat. He has a lot of good things going for him, a lot of bad things, but I do really think this is someone who can make a difference for Miami. Ready for this, folks? He had a usage rate above 25% last year, a true shooting percentage above 65, an offensive rebound percentage above 10, and a block percentage above 5. The players over the last 15 years to have those numbers in a Power 5 conference, John Collins, Zach Edey, Zion Williamson, Kelly Olynyk, Daniel Gafford, Nick Ward, and Vlad Goldin. So he is among some really solid NBA contributors with those advanced numbers. He started at Texas Tech for 1 year, then was on FAU, so was in Boca Raton for 3 years, helped them get to the Final Four, and then finished at Michigan. Excellent rebounder, as I mentioned. 10.9 offensive rebound percentage, 17.4 defensive rebound percentage. That would have been much higher if he didn't share the floor with Danny Wolf, who was picked in the first round, another 7-footer from Michigan. He finishes around the rim really well, 91st percentile at around the rim, 68%, 72% of his shots. He also is really good at grabbing rebounds and putting himself in the low post to generate the opponent having to foul him. He had a 59.8% free throw rate. He shot 73.1% at the line, so pretty good there. He's also extremely durable. Ready for this? Since his sophomore year, Goldin played in all 144 possible games possible. Started all but one of them. This is a guy who's got massive size, is going to contribute to Miami. I truly do believe he will end up looking good in the Summer League squad, earning that two-way. I like what he can bring to the table. I had him graded out as a late second-round pick, 45th overall player. My player comp for him, y'all are going to laugh at this. Dwayne Dedmon. Didn't know he was going to get taken by Miami. We all know how Dedmon was in a Heat uniform. But that's my player comp for Vlad Goldin. I am excited that he is a part of this Heat roster. Now, who is your Heat favorite UDFA? We only showed the first. There was 4 more, and then we'll look at the Summer League invites as well. But let me know who it was. I don't think there's a better option but Vlad Goldin. You can make an argument for this next player we'll talk about, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. The player I was just referring to was Steve Settle III, a wing from Temple. This is a very interesting player. This is also a player that rose up kind of boards from not even thought of, to, all right, this guy could be an undrafted free agent. He's got excellent size. He worked out for Miami. The Heat did give him an Exhibit 10 contract, so this is not someone that's just getting a Summer League invite. This is someone they do want to have in their training camp as well when we get into September and October. Excellent size, 6'10", good wingspan. He's a little light on that frame. He will need to add weight to it, but he's an absolute sniper. Not asked to do a lot offensively for Temple. He was more used off the ball on the offensive glass and spot up shooter, which he can do at an extremely high level. Shot 41.6% from beyond the arc for the Owls last season. Yeah, that will play. Okay rebounder as well. Averaged 6.2 boards a game last season. This is an interesting addition for the Miami Heat, though, because he's got great positional size. He's more of a 3 or 4 hybrid. He's almost like, I'm not saying this to be like a joke or anything, but like the way that you see like KD use his size to get shots up over smaller defenders on the perimeter, that is kind of what Steve Settle does. Do I think he's going to ever be a Durant? No, that would be absolutely effing insane, but that's just the type of shot making he possesses at his size. Omar Ballo is another big man that the Heat add to their little summer league group as an undrafted free agent. And Settle got an Exhibit 10. Goldin got a two-way. There are 3 players we'll talk about here, all just got summer league invites. But Omar Ballo is a very interesting guy, and you can tell that there was a theme with these undrafted free agents Miami picked up. It is size, size, size. Omar Ballo is a massive 7-foot center who has a lot of weight to him. He's a big fella, 265 pounds. Played at Arizona before transferring to play for Mike Woodson in Indiana this past season. A little bit of a disappointing player, I'll be honest, at the collegiate level. A lot of people thought he was going to be like one of the more dominant centers in all of college basketball when he played at Arizona and then Indiana. He never was really able to do that. He's got a lot of offensive kind of deficiencies, if you will. Doesn't finish around the rim the best rate that you would expect him to, and his post footwork isn't the best either, but he's a big body who can crash the glass and will be an interesting kind of big man to work in rotation with Vlad Goldin and Kel'el Ware. Yes, Kel'el Ware, we'll talk about this here in a second, in the Summer League squad. Marcus Williams will be added to the Summer League group as well as a Summer League invite for the San Francisco guard. And the first time Miami had a San Francisco guard. Shout out to Jamari Bouye from about 4 or 5 years ago. But this is a Summer League invite for Williams. Another player like Steve Settle that was reported the Heat had for a workout in their headquarters. He averaged 15 points a game last season for the Dons in the WCC. Also shot the ball pretty well. 48.3% from the field, 41% from beyond the arc. And talented offensive guard. Doesn't have a lot of size to him, though, 6'2". We'll see how he can perform, though. This is a very interesting Summer League squad. We'll show the full roster here in a second. But I could see Marcus Williams carving out a little role for himself as one of their lead scorers in the backcourt. The final UDFA that Miami added to the Summer League squad is a fascinating one. I feel like I've said that for all of them, but I really do mean it with this one. Dane Danja, the big man from Memphis. And just like Ballo, this mother effer is absolutely massive. 6'9", 271. Round, mound, and rebound. Get out the way inside, folks. You saw Omar Ballo be 260 and change at 7 feet. Yeah, Danja's about 4 inches shorter, yet 10 pounds heavier. This guy's a meatball, folks, and he will carve out space on the interior. He absolutely hooped in the first round of the NCAA tournament when Memphis fell as the 5 seed to the 12th seeded Colorado State Rams. He was doing everything in his power to get a win for the Tigers and Penny Hardaway. PJ Haggerty sold his bag, though. Danja was unstoppable in that game. I don't know if he'll play more than a Vlad Goldin or an Omar Ballo on this Heat Summer League squad, but I'll tell you what, Heat fans should get to know the name because when he puts on a Heat uni and is bullying people on the interior with his size, people are going to really start to look at this guy in a different light. All right, those are the 5 UDFAs that Miami added to their kind of organization, whether it be Summer League or not. Hit that sub button because we're the #1 Heat YouTube channel there is. We put out daily content. We cover news, rumors, trade. UDFAs. We're 744 away from 24K. Appreciate the people who subscribe throughout the weekend during our draft coverage. We're going to continue to bring you top content here on YouTube. So let's go through the entire Heat Summer League roster at this point. There are some fascinating names we'll get to. Kasparas Jakubonis obviously is going to be the headliner here. Marcus Williams we already talked about. And then we have our guy Kashad Johnson making an appearance on the Summer League squad. I'm really excited for him. He has a guaranteed contract this year after Miami picked up his $2 million team option. Couple other names to keep an eye on. Bryson Warren played last year for Miami. Kiro Lewis Jr., we'll talk about him more in depth here in a second. Paul Larson's playing. Myron Gardner, a former G League guy. J.C. Butler was on the squad last year. And Javante Cook. And then the big men. We just basically talked about all of them. Steve Settle III, Dane Donja, Vlad Goldin, Omar Ballo, and yes, you do see Kel'el Ware there. He is listed on the Summer League roster. I anticipate this being very similar to the Jaime Jaquez Jr. situation from a year ago. If you remember, Jaime played the first 2 games of Heat Summer League, averaged 28 points and like 8 rebounds, absolutely dominated. It was clear that he just was bullying people out there and shouldn't be allowed to play. I expect Kel'el Ware to be kind of the same thing, to where he plays in the first 1 or 2 games maybe, absolutely balls out, and they're like, all right, we don't want you to get hurt. We've seen enough. Kel'el, you can go back to the big leagues in Miami. But 14 players already on the roster. Pretty interesting stuff there. We might go back-to-back, though. I'm not kidding. It will depend on how much Kel'el Ware plays in Summer League. I don't anticipate it being a lot. Obviously, the Heat won the Summer League last season in Las Vegas. But with Jakubonis, with Paul Larson probably playing the entire time, Kashad Johnson playing the entire time, Paul and Kashad got a lot of run in the G League and dominated. They got some run in the main league as well. So I expect Miami Summer League squad to be pretty good. You also got a big man inside to dominate like Vlad Goldin. Hey, Summer League's going to be a lot of fun for Miami this year, just like it was extremely fun last season when they won the whole thing. So let me know, how excited are you for the Heat Summer League? Scale it 1 to 10 for me down in the comment section. I'm pretty fired up for it. If we can, we will go live on the channel for some Summer League games. I am taking a couple vacations to Virginia Beach and Boston in July before we get things started up in the fall with football and the NBA again. So maybe we'll do some watch parties, maybe not, but I am pretty fired up to watch some of these Heat Summer League games. Now, I did want to talk about this real quick. I do find it interesting. Now, the Summer League roster for Miami could change. But as of right now, you did not see Isaiah Stevens on there. You did not see Josh Christopher on there. Christopher has been in the Heat organization the past couple of years. With him not being currently on a 2-way deal or in the Summer League roster, which even if he was on a 2-way deal, you'd imagine him being on the Summer League roster, that could end his run. It could also end Isaiah Stevens' run, which would be a little bit disappointing as well, in my opinion. I really like Isaiah Stevens, but he's not on the Summer League roster, and he should be if the Heat plan on keeping him around for another year. So Isaiah Stevens and Josh Christopher could be it for their time in this Heat organization. But a player I did want to talk more in depth about is Kira Lewis Jr. I meant to put guard for the Heat, so hand up. That's on me there, folks. But this is a young player, 24 years of age, was a first-round pick in 2020. 13th overall by the Pelicans when he came out of Alabama, one of those first couple of guards to play for Nate Oates after he took that job leaving Buffalo. He's played for New Orleans, Toronto, and Utah. He was not in the NBA last season. He played for the Washington Wizards G League team. You see he's actually got a Wizards uniform on. That was his photo from the last year, but he never really played for them. He's appeared in 131 games in his NBA career, averaging just 5 points a game. He has been very, very bad in terms of being able to put the ball in the bucket.
Behind the wheel. And while that very well may be true in general, it's certainly not when it comes to signing undrafted free agents, because I'm talking literal seconds after round 2 of the NBA draft ended last night. The Heat had already signed a couple of players. The first guy they got was 6'11" wing Steve Settle III. They signed him to an Exhibit 10 contract, which allows him to be here in Summer League and through training camp. But they also signed a couple of other guys to Summer League deals, including a few centers like Dane Donja, Umar Ballo, and also a guard named Marcus Williams. The Heat Summer League team is looking to be stacked once again as they look to go back-to-back. Of course, you got Kasparz, but you also got Khalil Ware coming back. He'll probably play a couple of games. But Pelle Larsson, our guy Kashad Johnson. So we'll have plenty of more time, though, to talk about the Summer League before their season kicks off on July 11th. So we'll get some videos out on the other new guys as well. But in today's video, I want to spotlight Vlad Goldin because he was signed to a two-way contract pretty much immediately. And as Heat fans, I think we're all well aware by now what a two-way contract is. If you're not, it's basically a deal that allows a player to jump back and forth between the G League and the pro team throughout the regular season. A two-way guy is not eligible to play in the playoffs, but he is allowed to be active for 50 of a team's 82 regular season games. And each team is also allowed to sign 3 players to a two-way contract. Of course, historically, the Heat have turned many of their two-way guys into significant NBA talents. You got guys like Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, just to name a few. The point is, they take their two-way contracts seriously. Last year, you had Kashad Johnson before he was eventually promoted to a standard deal. Then his two-way spot was taken by Isaiah Stevens. You also had Josh Christopher and Drew Smith. I believe all 3 of those guys can be legitimate NBA players. Talking about Kashad, Isaiah Stevens, I don't know what the deal is with him. He's not currently on any Summer League team, but those talks and rosters are fluid, so eventually he might be back because I think he's a good player. But at least Kashad, Josh Christopher, and Drew Smith, I think all 3 of those guys will be pretty legit NBA players as they continue to grow and develop. And now I believe that Vlad Goldin can be the Heat's next two-way great. I was already a little bit familiar with his game because I was kind of obsessed with Danny Wolf highlights, who is, of course, is the big man that ended up going to the Nets. Very versatile, playmaking big. But at Michigan, he played next to Vlad, another 7-foot player, and those two had a great connection. So just from watching Danny Wolf highlights, I was familiar. If you watch Vlad Goldin highlights, which I won't put any in this video because I'm tired of getting demonetized. Seriously, like 60% of my videos in the last month have been demonetized, which it does hurt a little bit, but the most important thing is that y'all like the video and subscribe. So if you could at least do that for me, I do appreciate it. But if you watch any Vlad Goldin highlights, there's like a 90% chance that his bucket is going to be assisted by Danny Wolf. But today's video, I wanted to do a bit of a more of a deep dive into Goldin so we can learn some more about him. Now, I know he was mocked number 59 to Bleacher Report. He was 55 on Yahoo, number 52 on ESPN and Tankathon. So he was projected to be a very late second-round pick. My guy Nick Rohoff from Heat Report on Chat Sports, he had him at number 45 on his personal big board. So the point is here, a lot of publications had him going in the second round. So I think getting him as an undrafted player actually isn't bad value because he can play right away. Now, he better be able to play right away because he's already 24 years old. So he's not the type of prospect with a ton of potential to grow. But what he is someone who has a defined skill set and legit NBA size. He was invited to the combine where he measured 7 feet without shoes. So he'll probably be listed as 7'1", 7'2" in the league. So definitely one of the taller players. Did have a positive wingspan that came in at 7'5" and weighed 253 pounds. Now, Vlad grew up in Russia, but he did go to high school in Connecticut before committing to Texas Tech as a 4-star recruit. So definitely had some clout going into college. Didn't play much at Texas Tech as a freshman, but then he transferred to FAU, where he played 3 seasons and pretty much improved every year and was kind of an important part to their team that went to the Final Four. So there is a history that shows that his play can help lead to some success. I mean, literally, that we all remember the shock that Final Four FAU team was coming out of Boca to the Final Four. It was awesome living down here. Even though I'm not an FAU fan, it was fun to root for the local underdog, and Vlad Goldin was on that team. I keep wanting to call him Al Golden. That's like the one downside is the last time we had a Golden in Miami, he sucked and he would sweat through his dress shirts and it was real nasty. Of course, that was the old Miami Hurricanes football coach. I know Golden was spelled different, but I'm trying my best mentally to not say out Golden. Sometimes it's hard to think and speak with the camera on, and I'm trying to look at my notes and also the camera. That's why in yesterday's video, where we talked more about Kaspar's, I said something like Lithuania is in Madrid. I don't know what the hell I was saying, but anyways, he did play. We said he played 3 seasons at FAU, but then he actually followed his head coach, Dusty May, to Michigan when May transferred over there, and that's where Vlad played his super senior season, and he was even better. So that was a very encouraging sign. A lot of times players will be at a small school, transfer to a bigger school, and the production doesn't quite match. Not for Vlad. He actually did get better, where he averaged almost 17 points per game, got you 7 rebounds, about a block and a half, and shot 61% from the field. Just has insane efficiency, as you'd expect, being a guy who primarily dunks the ball. But he did start to show a little bit of a shooting touch his senior year, his super senior year at least, where he took about a 3 a game at 33%. So maybe he's starting to learn to expand his game a little bit. The positive, though, is he did shoot 73% from the free throw line, and that's on 6 attempts a game. So pretty good sample size there. Some of the player comps that I came across was a couple of active bigs. Mark Williams, who just got traded to the Suns. He's not bad. Also, Goga Bitadze, who I really love out of Orlando, was a great energy guy there. Another player comp I saw that is probably like Vlad's ceiling, which is very, very unlikely that he actually reaches this or anywhere close to it. But I did see Ivica Zubac, who was a former second-round pick, and he worked his way up over the course of several years in this league to get to, top 5 big man status that he probably is now. I don't know. I'd have to think about it, but he's a great center, right? So if Vlad can become a fraction of that, you're talking about a guy who could be a legitimate NBA role player. Did see a couple of Heat comparisons, too. I saw Dwayne Dedmon, who we make fun of Dwayne for the way things ended here and the massage gun and everything, but he was a good player at first, and they got him when he was older. I'd imagine a younger Dwayne Dedmon might have lasted a little bit longer. Then I also saw Omer Yurtseven, who was another project big man by the Heat, who didn't quite turn into the player I thought he would. I thought he'd actually be a really good NBA player because he came in as someone who could rebound, had post game, could stretch the floor a little bit. I don't love that comparison for Vlad, just because I think there was a bigger sample size of Omer Yurtseven shooting. In college, he actually took about 1.5 threes a game. So he was a little bit more of a floor spacer than I think Vlad is at this point, but the potential is there. I know the Heat couldn't really develop Omer before he went over to Utah. Maybe they can kind of do that with Vlad just to kind of get him into a legit role player. I think that would be the goal for Vlad Goldin. Some of the strengths and weaknesses that I saw, we're going to read the ones that Kevin O'Connor had in his Yahoo article. I know he was just hating on the Heat for taking Kaspar's, but that's because he's a Heat hater. These are the ones that he listed prior to Vlad signing with us. And of course, I'll share my personal opinion as well based off my independent research. The first strength he had listed, though, was his shooting upside. Mentions that Golden started shooting threes as a senior. Only took 33 attempts, made 11 of them. But it's progression. The fact he's starting to expand his game a little bit. And also we mentioned his his free throw percentage earlier. That pretty much increased every year and got to a point that I think is really good. 73% for a big man on decent volume. That's something that does show some potential. They also note that in college, he made 53% of his 300 hook shots and runners. That shows some great touch, which a lot of times these bigger, stronger players don't have. Same thing we mentioned about Khalil Ware. For a tall guy, he has some great touch. So does Vlad Goldin. And then as a junior, that just talks about the free throw percentage, which we already mentioned. Yeah, so it's definitely some shooting upside. He'll never be a shooter in this league, but if he can be a guy who maybe takes, a half to a 3 a game, keep the defense honest, it helps. It helps allow for some spacing to be there. I guess you want some semblance of spacing, at least be somewhat reliable so the defense doesn't play off your 20 feet like they do Rudy Gobert, for example. That's all you're hoping for with Vlad. The next strength they have listed is his at-rim finishing. Says he was an efficient scorer at the rim with a variety of post moves and toughness and feel for scoring against contact. Very physical player. That's the part that really jumped out at me when I started watching him. He's no Thomas Sorber with the footwork, but he's a guy who's not afraid of contact, The Heat need some more of that. They need some more toughness and Heat culture. We've been talking about it. I think Vlad is that type of guy because the last strength they have listed is his motor. Since he plays hard, plays with emotion, if he's able to improve his quickness, he could end up as a solid interior defender and rebounder. I already think he's a good rebounder because of his size and effort, but just in general, he'll be an energy guy like Dwayne Dedmon was here, like Thomas Bryant was here. If you can get one of those guys while they're a little bit younger, you're someone of that archetype when they're a little bit younger. Like, I know we said Vlad is 24, but he's younger than Dwayne Dedmon was when Dedmon came here. You know what I mean? So if they could sort of develop those guys, Birdman is another guy that worked out really well for the Heat and that type of energy big archetype. I think Vlad does have that kind of potential as well. The weaknesses it lists is his perimeter defense. He'll struggle against stretch bigs. He might get kind of killed into the pick and roll. They'll kind of cook him on switches. That's fine. You know, any backup big you get, that's likely going to be the case, which is why he'll never be a heavy minute guy. But I still think he can be used in spot minutes when you need some size. He'll just never be a perimeter defender. It does say a weakness of his is his athleticism. He's not the most versatile. I saw his max vertical leap was 30 inches, which is not, it doesn't jump out at you, but he's not afraid to use his size and physicality. So that makes up for some of the athleticism that he lacks. And then finally, it shows his last weakness is passing. He had 95 assists to 236 turnovers in college. A negative assist to turnover ratio is very bad, but he's going to be a play finisher, not a play starter or playmaker. So that's fine. You know, I at least like the fact that he seems to maybe be a willing passer, unlike what my guy Hassan Whiteside was here. Because if you have a guy wide ass open, you want Vlad to be able to find him. I think he can do that. He's just not going to be a guy you want making plays, which is fine. That won't be his role here. As far as his fit on the Miami Heat, right now, I think he can provide the backup center minutes, at least some. Obviously, as a two-way guy, you can only play 50 games max, but they could convert him later in the season. But I think there'd be a role for him to get some spot minutes. Maybe if a guy like Jovic or Khalil Ware get banged up, you bring him in for a few games, and he could fit right away because he's just simply an energy guy in a big body, and you can always use one of those. Maybe you're going against one of these teams with a two big man lineup. You're playing OKC, Chet and Hartenstein are killing you, or you're playing Houston and Steven Adams and Alperen Şengün and now Kevin Durant. You got a lot of size cooking you. Maybe you could throw a Vlad in there just to kind of muck things up and just be a big body. Of course, he may or may not stay on a two-way contract. As of right now, I have a strong feeling he'll stay on one through training camp at least. I believe another two-way spot will go to Drew Smith as he recovers from his Achilles injury, and then maybe he'll get a standard deal again. I mean, you just got Kasparas. Davion Mitchell will be another point guard. Hopefully, they can re-sign him. And maybe Drew Smith is your third point guard. A couple of defenders, all three showing that they have an ability to shoot. You got Kasparas as your lead playmaker. Maybe that's the three guards that he go with. I don't know, but for now, I could see it possible Drew Smith does get that two-way as he recovers from his injury. That would leave one two-way spot open. I don't know who that would go to. We just kind of have to see how Summer League plays out. I do know that the Heat do like Vlad. They actually saw him at his Clutch Pro Day. He is a Clutch client. I know that bridge was burned for a while. It does seem like it's recovered a little bit. Alec Burks was a Clutch client. So I don't think Rich Paul in the Heat front office has that animosity anymore. So the Heat actually saw him work out, unlike Kasparas. So that's a good thing. And
Miami Heat lost out to the Houston Rockets in the Kevin Durant chase. They still have time to land another big-time free agent should he choose to leave. Milwaukee Bucks superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo could be on the way to a new this offseason, but ESPN insider Shams Charania feels the Heat are on the outside looking in. During an appearance on First Take Thursday, Charania said the Heat lack the pieces to trade for Antetokounmpo. It's not going to be at the draft, Charania said of Antetokounmpo's possible movement. It's not going to be during free agency. Giannis Antetokounmpo has played in Milwaukee for 12 years. He's built up a lot of equity. Charania said he expects Antetokounmpo to take his time if he decides to make a move. He's going to sit back, Charania said. He's going to observe and see, and eventually, later in the summer, I expect there to be some level of resolution there. Any notion of the Miami Heat drafting assets for a potential trade faded away as it quickly became a reality, with a lottery pick shockingly falling to the number 20 pick. Kasparas Jakučionis was considered a consensus top 14 draft pick among most expert draft boards, with several having him among the top 10. ESPN's draft analyst Kevin Pelton believed the Heat's pick to be one of the best matches in the draft because he feels Jakucionis' ceiling is tied to Heat fan favorite Goran Dragic. Kasparas Jakucionis to the Heat at number 20. Former Miami guard Goran Dragic has been my comparison for Jakucionis if things go right, Pelton explained. They're both physical guards with shooting ability. Dragic improved his high turnover rate that limited him as a young player, and Jakucionis will have to do the same. Jakucionis' size at 6'6" will allow him to play alongside either Tyler Herro or Davion Mitchell, presuming the Heat retain Mitchell as a restricted free agent. And you, fan, what do you think about Antetokounmpo's situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.